Hi, everyone, and welcome to Campground Confidential, a podcast about starting, running, and growing your campground business. I'm Stephanie Puglisi. On each podcast episode, we'll talk to campground owners and other experts in the outdoor hospitality industry. We'll hear stories about what it's really like to own a campground, the good, the bad, and the ugly. From Park Vendor Review, this is Campground Confidential. My guest today is Chris Pyle, Director of Operations at RV Self Park, a small family-owned business for the last 3 years. In this multifaceted role, Chris has adeptly worn various hats, handling everything from answering calls and spearheading marketing initiatives to overseeing upgrades at the park. His journey into the realm of hospitality began with a solid foundation in customer service as a recruiter prior to joining RV Self Park. This experience equipped him with the interpersonal skills and client-focused mindset that have proved instrumental in his transition into the world of outdoor hospitality. Chris's commitment to providing exceptional service and ensuring a positive guest experience has been a driving force throughout his time at RV Self Park. Welcome to Campground Confidential, Chris.
Hey, Stephanie. Thank you for having me on. I'm happy to be on here.
Yes, I was so excited to invite you onto the show because, if you're in that campground news space and you're, connecting with a lot of campground owners out there these days, you might be aware the talk is like resort.
Sure.
And I kind of felt like, wow, these guys are doing something different. And I really wanted to hear the story of why you all are focusing on such a different model than the glamping trends and everything that is appearing in the news so much. So I'd really love to hear this other side of things and focus on this RV Self Park where it's this simple, basic, safe service, right? Like tell people about these campgrounds you're building.
Sure. First of all, we love all RV parks, right? We love the glamping. Me and my wife do it. We love everything. However, back in 2019, my father-in-law, he's actually the mastermind behind all of it. He is an RV traveler, travels, up to 300 miles per day, and not necessarily needed those typical campgrounds with all the amenities and such. He just needed a quick overnight stay. So, in 2019, I believe it was June, he came to us and was like, "Hey, I have this idea. We have this land up here in Sullivan. Want to build an RV park, but I want it to be for the transient travelers." And some of us that were with him didn't really even understand what it meant because it wasn't a thing yet. So while we were building it out, we started to understand the process more and more. But simply put, RV Self Park is a self-serve, fully automated RV park, sort of on a mission to bring the transient traveler a quick and stress-free overnight stay, because that's, again, what he wanted. So, as I said, built in June of 2019, opened in 2020. Again, he just wanted, he knows that those transient travelers were out there because he's encountered them along the way in his own travelers. So we built the park out, 24 sites, as I said, fully automated, full hookup, all pull through, 75 foot long. We wanted to make it as stress-free, as he said, as possible, because what he likes to say is that when you boondock, or not boondock necessarily, but you stay at a truck stop or you stay at the Cracker Barrels and stuff like that, it's technically free, but you might be sketched out with noises and running the generator all night. Tends to not necessarily be free. So that's kind of where the mindset of it came from.
Yeah, it's not free. There's a cost to it, right? Absolutely.
Right.
So let's like the definition of this transient traveler is like you're going from point A to point B, but it's going to take you longer than one day of travel to get there. So you're looking for that overnight stop.
Yep.
And before this model of park that you all are introducing came out, you have the option, like you said, of like the Wally docking, right?
Sure.
The Walmart, the Cracker Barrel for free. I will say that I did that a few times. And I was absolutely like, this is not worth it. right? It's
Yeah,
not worth
right,
it because
right.
you're on edge. You don't
Yeah.
really get a good night's
Am I
sleep.
supposed to be here? Can I be here? Who's going to come knocking? As
Is
they
someone
said.
going to
So,
knock, right,
yeah,
on the door and tell us that we weren't right? We weren't allowed to be here, even, right? It really does introduce so much stress. And then on the flip side of that, I felt like our other option all of these years, we live on we're in New Jersey and we live on that 95 corridor
okay,
or
yeah, yeah,
corridor, as some people call it. So we know quite a lot about like having to stop along the way
sure,
down somewhere. And the other option was to find a private campground, maybe near the interstate, but
hopefully
then
near.
you're paying for a whole campground experience and you're not even seeing it in the light
Hmm.
sometimes,
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. That is something again that we personally encountered in our own travel, my wife and I. Before, I guess, he built the park out, we had always wondered why the RV parks weren't more convenient,
mhm.
maybe right off that highway. And they seem to be 10 miles off the highway,
Yes.
getting through the dark, trees
Twisty
everywhere,
roads.
twisty roads, not
Right.
conducive to an RV necessarily. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we're excited about where RV South Park is going.
Okay, so let's talk about what more of this, like, you used words like fully automated.
Sure,
Um, Tell us just what's that experience? What happens when somebody
sure.
stays at your campground?
Yeah, I'll start from basically just making a reservation. So,
Mhm.
let's say you're driving down 44, headed to Sullivan, right? Basically, what you can do, you can either make the reservation online. You Google us. Either way, you have to make it online. But you Google us, go on our website. You pick Sullivan or Kingsland, Georgia, which is that new site. Um, you will pick the amount of hours that you want to stay. You pick in your own check-in time and check-out time based off that hourage. The amount of days you want to stay. What site type? We have premium, deluxe, and then from there you just pay. And let's say you made your reservation for 8 p.m. and you pull in at 7:55. Well, our automated system understands that somebody's supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, and we give people a 30-minute buffer, basically, so that because sometimes usually guests get there a little earlier or they get there later than what they
Yes.
initially indicated. So, um, yeah, that's basically the process. You get there, and as soon as you pull in, the whole system unlocks. So you cannot access the sewer, the electric, or the water if you do not have a reservation at any of the sites. Because, like I said, our automation locks it completely. But once it knows that that guest is supposed to be there, 8 o'clock comes around, everything unlocks, and then the green light, the service light, will indicate to you that everything's on. So that's kind of the way the process goes. And the automation was not simple at all. That's why it hasn't been duplicated yet, because we went through three different phases of what that automated system looked like. Went from underneath the RV using more of a metal indicator to turn things on, to now we have a sensor locator that lets people let us know and lets the system know. So yeah, it's been a trip figuring out what works, but we feel like we
Right.
have it solidified.
I mean, you're not the first people to open up a campground that's
Hmm.
focused on the transient traveler.
Correct.
But as far as I know, I'm not saying you're the first campground to have automated hookups either. I
Yeah.
don't know. This is the first I've heard of
Yes,
it.
we technically
Go
are
ahead.
the
Yeah.
first automated RV park. Yeah. So I guess it automated in that concept, as in you go to the site, you can't access any of those utilities unless you have that reservation.
Okay.
And then once that reservation is there and it unlocks, there are some sites that have gates, and that's an automated system. So you make your reservation, you plug in the gate code, and you pull into your site. So that's a little different. But yeah, when it comes to actually having this automated technology, my father-in-law, yeah, is the first one.
Okay, so we're going to get a little real here with some of
Sure.
these challenges then that this is presented, because I'm thinking like most of the time the camper, right? I very much identify spending thousands of nights at a campground. I identify with that customer side
Yeah.
of things.
Right.
And most of the time the frustration is that campgrounds are a little behind
Hmm.
in the technology
Right.
aspect of things these days. So I want a little more automation in my life. I don't want to have to wait in line,
Right.
for 30 minutes in the camp store to check in or whatever. Like
That's
there
exactly
are
it.
there are pain
Yeah.
points that it's like, okay, could we get, or the online reservation, right, which really took the last few years to take off a lot in the
Sure.
industry. So usually it's that side of the coin. I'm wondering if you all have had to, kind of fight through frustrations on the other side where I'm imagining, when I make my like parking reservation at the airport and I'm
Yeah.
supposed to put that QR code up to the thing and it's not
Sure.
working and I'm
Sure.
sitting in my car, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you want the person to come and help you and you're looking around. Like, just tell us a little bit about that journey for you all on like
Sure.
what kinds of problems did you encounter with that? How did you
Yeah.
solve them?
Well, for one, since nobody is on site, we have tons of signage to tell you exactly what to do and how to do everything. Yet at the beginning, we still had people pull through, pull in backwards, pull into sites that were already rented because they didn't know the concept yet. They didn't understand what they needed to do. Some pulled in thinking we had a clubhouse, a store, bathrooms, and all that good stuff. Um, but from there, I would say we have had issues in the beginning, again, when we were trying to figure out what automation worked, where
Right.
somebody would pull up to their site, they'd have a reservation completely figured out, they'd get our email, but for some reason, our automation wouldn't turn on immediately. And then they would call and say, hey, I'm on site 8. I have my reservation details. I'm at here at the right time. My automation's not working, my electric's not hooked up, or my water's hooked up, but my electric isn't working. So we had a couple of those headaches. And that obviously has been dealt with our programmer, figuring all that good stuff out. As I said, even changing the automation to make it so much so that it's not going to mess up like that again.
Right.
Because again, since we're on site, we don't want anything messing up, right? So, um, yeah, that's just kind of
Did you
some of
have
those headaches
these
there.
did you have these utility capabilities? Like, was this created for you all or did it exist somewhere else and adapted it for your vision?
Are you talking about the automation or are you talking about the actual service island itself?
Yeah, the service island. Like, did
Yeah,
this
so
exist and you just had to tweak it?
he created it himself, my father-in-law. He just, yeah, he has this mind of creativity and like
Yeah.
ease, So again, when he was talking about it, we had no clue what he was talking about. And then he makes it, his dream comes out, and then there's the service island, which is patented. That technology is. But what he wanted was everything there within a hand's reach, simple. And so he decided to draw it up, figure out what he wanted, where he wanted things, and those are service islands. And that's kind of how it's all set up. Even the automation was set up on the service island to our specs. So everything that
Right.
you see on that service island is completely hand done to our I don't know what you call it, specs. There you go.
Requirements.
There you go. Requirements. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. I mean, what do we have 3 years now about that the
Yeah.
first
So
location has been open?
yeah, yeah, 4 years actually. It actually
Okay.
opened 3 months before COVID started, 2020.
Lovely.
Yeah, right, right.
Lovely. That was
We were
just a
in for a
little a
treat,
little extra challenge
in for a
for
treat
you.
there. But yeah,
Yeah, a little extra
and then
stress.
yeah, Kingsland just opened up on February 25th. So
Okay. So
yeah,
4 years at this first location. Let's talk some like um you know how many people are staying there? How's it going? Like
yeah,
are you full? What's going on?
yeah. So we have 24 sites at that location, which we believe, and that's what we started off with in our area there in Sullivan. Within 45 minutes, there are 15 other RV parks. So it's not the exact ideal location that we would start out for an
Okay.
RV self park, right? It's just the land that we had. We wanted to see if the concept worked, and it did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, he didn't even build the park with the intent on doing and gaining as much momentum and people interested as it is. He just had this idea, wanted to make a little money on the side, and then boom. So whatever happened, happened.
Okay.
Um,
So it was like your prototype. The land was there
exactly,
to do the
exactly it.
prototyping. Okay.
Right, right. So it does well. For me personally, I would, we could take back a couple sites, and it would for sure be full.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have our people who come yearly. They always use us, coming in and out. We still have people who are still finding us, have no clue who we are, and just find us, via Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at that location, we have over 210 five-star reviews, and pride ourselves on that ease and stress-free, overnight stay. So
Okay, so you
yeah,
have a
Sullivan's been
market
doing
fit
well.
there.
Yeah,
You just opened up in Georgia. I'm
yeah.
assuming this property is near some major
Yeah, so it's
thoroughfares.
right off of I-95 there in Kingsland. There's
Mm-hmm.
100,000 vehicles traveling off that site per day. So yeah, we're really excited about that one because, like I said, it's off 95 at the Florida Georgia line, and
Is that
all
near
it
the new
is RV
Bucky's? Is
travel.
that kind of around where that new
Um,
Bucky's
I
is?
believe that's going to be in Brunswick, which was
Okay.
45 minutes north of where we are. So yeah,
Okay.
that's going to be a heck of a place
Bonkers.
too. Yeah, yeah,
Bonkers.
for sure.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. But yeah, like I said, I would say the Kingsland location is the exact not the prototype, the exact um,
The
site
model.
model
Yeah.
that we would want 100%. Where I said
Okay.
it has that travel. It's warm year round there in the
Mm-hmm.
southeast. We don't have to worry about, because in Sullivan we actually dropped down to 8 sites for the winter because
Okay.
that winter travel is not happening up there. So
Right. And do you
yeah,
still provide water or do you turn off the water?
we do. We actually have heated spigots for the
Mm-hmm.
guests, so yeah, we allow them to keep that water on.
Okay, that's a nice thing for people
Yeah,
that are traveling through to be able to still hook up to water even in colder temperatures. I
yeah,
see on the website that this is definitely you're looking forward to a franchise model. Is
yeah.
that the direction y'all are thinking about?
Yeah, so that has even changed a little bit since we started it. However, yes, we have a franchise business consultant. His name's
Okay.
Cody Monty. He actually speaks with you directly just to talk about, your interest in our model and all that good stuff. So I would say, yeah, the franchising, and also we're potentially doing something where it's like a retrofit. So you may already have a campground, you may be an owner somewhere where you are off the highway and you want your park to be a little bit more automated. We
Mm.
actually have service islands that we have there in Kingsland and Sullivan. We have a warehouse where we have those already made up. So we're actually ready to partner with other campground owners if they would like that technology as well.
Oh,
So
like a
that's another
hybrid
avenue.
model. So
Right,
you have
right.
your regular campground, but you're thinking I have this extra property
Yeah,
over to this area that I can
right.
develop for a whole different
10 sites where it's
market.
going to be transient, they're going to be there. Great. We have the service islands for you. So,
Oh, so interesting. I don't know.
yeah,
Do you have, I mean, you don't have to call them out here. Do you guys have people nipping at your heel? Like, are there competitors in this space? This is so different than anything I'm hearing going on there,
they're
out there.
competitors. I mean, there are people who are definitely interested
Mm-hmm.
in the model. We've been talking to a good amount of people. You also see some of the truck stops that have overnight RV park
Yes.
stays too. So, um, yeah, I mean, again, we're just looking to expand and um, help out and help out the guests in a stress-free manner. So,
Yeah. So you've got product, you think you have product market fit and you're
yeah,
going for it. All right.
right, right,
So let's talk about some trends because I mean, I already mentioned, I felt this was very counter to a lot of the chatter, right? There's always like reports coming out and
yeah,
everything. And I was like, oh, this is not what a lot of people are talking about, this transient audience.
right.
So, like, how are you keeping in touch with that? How are you responding to the trends? How are you tracking? You're not obviously thinking about people want yurts and people are like, you're
Yeah,
like so in a
sure,
different world than a lot
sure.
of the reporting that's coming out there.
You're
So,
right.
where are you getting your numbers from and what trends are you following to
Yeah,
for this
so
model?
the trend specifically for a transient traveler isn't necessarily there. However, we do know that or I think the average camper or traveler RVer stays about 2 to 3 days at a park, which is, excuse me, sort of what we're seeing at our park now. It's in that 1 to 3 day range. And I guess all of our data comes from our own park. Because again, and not necessarily our own park, because there are campgrounds out there that do have I guess they call them more transient sites where they may be in the front of
Right.
the park, right? And those are full. I guess when it comes to the trends and the guests that are there, and the more and more we talk to people, and the more and more people and are interested in building the same type of park, that to us tells us that we know we're
Mm-hmm.
doing the right thing. We're in here at the right time. Um, so again, not necessarily reports coming out and saying that, hey, RV self parks need to be 100% everywhere. But based
Right.
off the chatter out there in the industry, people I speak to, even RV park or RV guests, um, everybody loves it. Everybody wants it. Some people don't travel because there aren't enough RV sites out there, and specifically transient sites. So yeah, that's kind of where we are on that.
Yeah. Something that I've noticed is that I think that it's become more cumbersome to use those parking lot overnights, right? The Wally docking kind of
Sure,
places. I think
sure,
that for a while back, I would say even 10 years ago, when there was less forum chatter and everything,
yeah,
like I think that it was a more underground kind of thing, and people felt like it was really useful and everything. And now some people say, oh, everybody's ruining it, right?
yeah,
Like
sure,
because of how
sure,
crowded it is. So I do feel, and I don't know that I have numbers or actual data to back this up, but I feel like it's gotten less popular
sure,
over
right.
the last few years because more places have put in restrictions against it and
Yeah,
more places are crowded.
yeah, I've noticed that with Walmart specifically,
Mhm.
more and more articles about them shutting things down, and I guess it's more of the safety aspect. I guess Walmart doesn't know what's going on in their parking lot at
Yeah.
midnight.
Yeah.
And what if something happens on site? It's
Yeah.
sort of those things. It makes sense, but yeah, again, out of experience, I don't like doing it. My wife doesn't like doing
Yeah.
it. Father-in-law doesn't like doing it. There's a lot of people out there who don't like doing it, but need just a quick overnight stay near the highway.
Agree. I mean,
Safe.
that's what attracts me to this concept is it feels like it really fulfills something that is a pain point if you want a
Yeah,
quick night over, but you don't want to spend money
yeah,
that you're not going to get the value out of. And speaking of that, how are you pricing this based on the fact that you don't have a lot of competitors? Have you kind of
yeah.
moved to dynamic pricing to kind of respond a lot to what people are willing to pay? Have you been doing a lot of testing with that?
I would say it's a lot of testing in the beginning. In Sullivan, I think we overshot what we thought we would do there, which is just learning. You don't know
Mhm.
until you do it. So, Kingsland, obviously, it's too early to tell. It's only been open for 3 weeks, but we're doing well. We
Okay.
have plenty of reviews, people, good feedback, stuff like that. So I think we're doing good. Sullivan for sure is doing well there with where our price point is. But it took a while, not a while, but it took a little bit to solidify where we wanted to be when it comes to pricing there in Sullivan, and not necessarily model ourselves after what all the other RV parks are doing necessarily, because we don't have all those amenities, right?
Right.
But we're not trying to undercut the RV parks either to get people at our park, because we're not doing that. We're literally just trying to figure out a site or a spot in which those transient travelers, find us and they go, that is a perfect price for this quick overnight stay, and we feel we're there.
Okay, so
So
let's dive into that a little bit more. We're going to do your 5-minute little mini masterclass here,
sure,
right? Oh,
sure,
you kind of feel like after going through this process, you're more of an expert on that you can help the other campground owners that are listening to this. Um, you know, you mentioned that the first location, it was not chosen based on it being like the ideal location. It
right,
was like, this is a good place for us to develop this concept out. Now, I'm assuming that the second location was incredibly strategic,
correct,
and I'd love for you to just talk about that. Like, I think right now there's more people that want to be campground owners, right, than
right,
ever before.
right,
So, talk a little bit about that process and what you learned about choosing the right location for your
yeah.
business.
I think it took us 2 years of searching. We started in, I think, late 2021, early 2022, finding that location in Georgia. We, we looked in the West Coast because, again, anything that's going to stay hot all year round, nailed.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're looking for, right? We don't want to have to shut down sites if we don't have to, all that good stuff. So when it comes to a transient RV park or RV self park, what we were looking for specifically, um, right off of the highway, no more
Mm-hmm.
than a half mile to a mile, right off a major interstate. Um, about an hour to an hour and a half, maybe, from a major city as well. Um, because some people, get there later at night and decide, oh, I'm going to stay at this park and it's only going to take us an hour to get there in the morning. So that's what we're going to do. So that's kind of the model too. As I said, that traffic, that highway traffic, we're looking for, 80 plus thousand
Volume,
per day. Yeah,
volume.
that volume big time. Um, and what else is it? I mean, I guess I don't want to say it's simple,
What
but
about
really
land
those are,
cost? When you were looking at that volume, was there a huge differential in land cost between some of those places that had that high
yeah,
volume?
yeah, we couldn't go to the West Coast because of
Yeah.
that reason. Like Arizona, New Mexico, things like that, land cost was pretty insane. And so again, Southeast Georgia, we knew we wanted to be off of a major highway. We knew 95 specifically is going to have just tons of travel, people from New
Mm-hmm.
York to Florida getting both ways. So um, yeah, that's kind of the model.
Yeah, the land is so people everybody's always so shocked up in the Northeast at the cost of our camping. And
Sure.
we're like, do you know what the land underneath those campgrounds is worth?
Yeah, and I would say like the land in Kingsland, Georgia, it wasn't super cheap, but it was absolutely worth
Mm-hmm.
it, on
Okay.
our eyes to be right there. It's an investment, right? You want to invest in
Yeah.
your business, and then right there is that prime, right at the Florida Georgia line. Like I said, everybody's doing it, everybody's going there. So
Yeah, we've been there. We've been
yeah,
there. It's a busy area. And like I
it
said,
is.
that 95, you're always looking, how am I going to, strategically lay out my stops to get from
Sure.
Florida for us back up to the New York City area? And let me tell you something, we're not the only ones doing those trips.
Yeah, and like I said, with Kingsland, it is located strategically, maybe it's 45 minutes from Jacksonville, 40 minutes,
hmm
and then it's 45 minutes from Brunswick. So those are
Okay.
two, pretty decent sized
Yeah,
cities
so
there,
people can stop and then shoot down into wherever they're going in Florida
wherever they're
the
going. Yeah,
very next day and get there
correct.
pretty early and easily. Great. Okay, so we're going to dive into the lightning round. You ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
Now, this is your first, for context, this is your first stint in the campground industry, right?
100%. Yeah, this
All
was
right.
small family owned business, and I decided that it was a good idea, and I wanted to keep going with it. So yeah,
All right. So, what is your favorite thing about working in the campground industry?
I would say the stories of our guests telling us how, you know, they needed a spot exactly like we have for them. Or we had a lady who did a full United States trip in her van with her husband. And she said the best night was the ending night of the trip, and it was at our RV park, um, because it was just such a magical, stress-free end to such a crazy stay. And so stories like that really impact us and drive us to keep going.
It's a personal business,
A
right? For
hundred
sure.
percent. Yeah, and
Yeah, it's a very
even though
personal
we're not
industry.
physically there, you call me, I'll talk to you for an hour. It doesn't
Uh-oh, Chris, you just put that out there. All
matter. Yeah, no
right. So
kidding.
on the flip side, it's not all roses over here. What's your least favorite thing about the campground industry so far?
Uh, I don't know if it's the campground industry, maybe at our park specifically, the fact that, and I'm not trying to be rude, but people still do not read.
Yeah.
No matter what, you could get a lighted sign, do this,
Right.
it does not matter. Some guests just won't read, and they'll pull in backwards, or, they'll
Right.
just do the craziest things. And I don't know. That's probably it though.
Well, the people
Read.
that are listening to this podcast are mostly campground owners, so I
Right.
don't think
So
they're.
they'll
I think they're going
understand.
to be like nodding their heads, like we can't
Yeah.
get people to read stuff.
Slow down, read the signs, everything will go well.
All right. So, what piece of advice would you give to your former self on opening that first campground?
Everything's going to be okay. With RV Self Park coming into the industry, we were the first, right? The first um, I guess, automated parks. So
Mm-hmm.
specifically for that, again, everything's going to be okay. It's worth it in the end. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard work for sure. But to get those stories from those guests and exactly why you opened up, it's all worth it.
Nice. Dynamic pricing or no?
We haven't messed with it 100% yet, like completely in full. Like I said, Sullivan is a little bit of a different location. So with Kingsland, it's going to be different. We're going to try it out. Don't really have a say on it yet.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that then.
Yeah.
Promotional pricing or no? You running
Um,
promotions?
yeah, it works. Yeah.
All right, it works. Do you camp or RV for fun?
Yes, I'm actually, before we got on here, my wife and I were getting ready because we're camping this weekend, all weekend at River here in Troy, Missouri. So I camp all the time. We love being outdoors.
Can you tell me what you camp in?
Yeah, we have some friends coming, and
Okay.
so it's going to be a 10-person tent. We don't have we're not doing the RV or anything. We're tent camping. Yeah, all weekend.
Oh, that's going to be a party. That's so fun. We
I
go
love
back
it.
to the tent camping too. We like
Yeah,
to keep our kids a little tough, We're like, you don't
yeah,
always get
sure.
all of the amenities in the RV. All right.
We enjoy it. Yeah.
What is the most controversial campground rule for RV self park? Is there like something that people really are like responding to, like, why do I have to do that?
Honestly, at the beginning, I will say there in Sullivan, there was two
Okay.
that you couldn't tent camp and you couldn't have fires. People
Oh,
truly, again, did not understand that we were not a campground. We were an RV park. You
RV
know,
park. Yeah.
yeah, RV park, not a campground. So that was it. Um, we don't really have any kind of crazy rules
And
there
now
right
you
now.
feel like
So
people have kind of gotten
everybody has
used to
figured it
it.
out,
And
right? Because we have not had a tent camper since 2020. But I tell you what, it was funny when I looked at the camera that morning to check what was going on. And I was like, they fully are set up there in the site. So yeah,
wow.
all
Wow.
good though.
Okay. That's good. All right. And the last one, I love to hear, what do you think people get wrong about what it's like to own and operate a campground?
What do they get wrong? Um, Man, that's a difficult one.
I got it. I gave you a trick question at the end. What
What
did you
is
get wrong? What were you wrong about?
hmm. Well, I guess in Kingsland we were not necessarily wrong, but just updating when we originally built out what we were going to build out in Kingsland, and then going, we need to widen these. Just
Yes.
just being able to update, even though things are maybe solidified in the plans and everything. Um, Not
Right.
necessarily getting it wrong, but just being able to update. I guess that's the best answer I
Knowing
got
that
for you.
it's probably going to take iterations to get it
Right.
right.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. I think that that's a great answer. Well, you dug deep on that one to finish
Yeah.
us off.
Sure.
And I appreciate it, Chris. Chris, I'm really excited to watch the growth and the journey of the
Thank
RV
you.
Self Park brand. I can't wait to see it for myself. I really want to just being in
I'm on
industry
down.
to see this kind of
Yeah.
automation and how this works. So, congratulations on your second location and
Thank
the
you.
best of luck with growing this brand. I love it when people think outside of the box and try to find, a product market fit that really serves their audience. And I think that this is it. So I can't wait to see how you guys do.
Well, thank you for all the kind words. Yeah, definitely come down. Like I said, in Kingsland, that is just the first phase. We actually have two phases with that one. So we're done with the first phase. And phase two will commence probably here in the next 6 months or so. So
All
whenever you want to
right.
come down and see us, we'll be there.
I never want to be on Highway 95 on 95, but this would be a good reason
Gotcha.
to do it.
Yeah, sure. I got
All
you.
right. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
See ya.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Campground Confidential from Park Vendor Review. If you are a campground owner, operator, manager, or employee, make sure to sign up at parkvendorreview.com to search for vendors, read and write reviews, and access our library of resources. If you are a vendor in the outdoor hospitality space, head over to parkvendorreview.com and claim your listing today. We'll be back with another episode of Campground Confidential, but until then, visit us at parkvendorreview.com, where we make vendor decisions simple.